And a very warm welcome back. This is your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Happy Mandela Day. If nobody has said it to you yet, I hope that you find inspiration in this day to give back to our communities and create a better South Africa. Now, the 21st International AIDS Conference is currently being held in Durban for the second time ever on South African soil. Now, the country has been an integral part in, of course, aiding important research. And the conference is hoping to enlighten citizens and researchers about the advances that are made in dealing with this serious illness. Now, joining us via Skype is the president of the International AIDS Society, Chris Bekker, to tell us a bit more about what highlights to expect at this year's conference. Now, Chris, when the AIDS conference was first held in Durban in 2000, there was a lot of stigma and, of course, misconceptions around this disease. How has the conference helped to change these?
Well, Durban 2000 was a landmark. First of all, it was not just the first time the International AIDS Conference was in South Africa, but it was the first time the International AIDS Conference had ever been in an African country. This is only the second, 16 years later.
Yeah.
You have to remember that at the time, we had effective therapy. We understood that you could treat HIV disease, but that therapy was available almost nowhere on the African continent. And of course, that's where the majority of people living and dying of HIV and AIDS were. So we had a huge challenge. And I think that AIDS 2000 is always remembered as really the watershed, the moment where we said, this is unacceptable, we have to make AIDS treatment available. And really the AIDS treatment era in Africa began after that conference. We're at 17 million people worldwide on antiviral therapy. It's a huge achievement, less than halfway to universal treatment.
Wow, so a lot of work still to be done. Now, what is this year's conference in particular hoping to add to the landscape of HIV advocacy?
Well, when you look at a country like South Africa that, remember, in 2000 was a period of AIDS denialism, and it was very hard to get the then government really even to accept that HIV was the cause of AIDS. Here we are in 2016. South Africa has the largest treatment program in the world. And I think we've made some enormous advances as well on HIV prevention. We now have a new biomedical prevention approach that can be combined with testing, counseling, condoms, the basics of prevention, male circumcision, and that is PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis. And now South Africa is really leading the way. It's only one of two African countries, the other being Kenya, that is making PrEP available. And it's also trying to provide PrEP to some of the more stigmatized and marginalized communities, like sex workers, who have very high risk for HIV infection and who really need this potent combination prevention. So it's really a different world and a very important, exciting change.
Yeah. Tell me more about the scientific program this year, which promises to be cutting edge. I understand there's a lot to look forward in terms of, I guess, highlights. Tell us more about that.
I think there's going to be a lot of groundbreaking science. This is our most competitive scientific meeting that we've ever had. We had many thousands of abstracts, the highest scores we've ever had, and then we had late breaking, so new science coming in just in the last month or two. That's really very exciting. And there's a lot of data from new PrEP studies, including in adolescents, in women, in men who have sex with men, different regimens, different dosing schedules, different drugs. That is really, we think, going to lead to a new era in prevention that's going to be more like a menu. You're going to have more options for your HIV prevention, as, for example, people have for contraception and family planning. And that new era, we think, is really, in some ways, that discussion is going to be a big part of Durban 2016.
Now, you've touched on this a little bit, but I want you to just maybe lay emphasis on the importance of holding the conference on South African soil.
Oh, it's many people involved, but South Africa has been a critical partner. That's the other reason why we feel that it's so right that the conference should be happening in South Africa. South Africa's got, as I said, the largest treatment program in the world, but it's also been a critical partner in the research effort, in prevention, in treatment, and of course in dealing with the social challenges, the stigma and discrimination issue.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And good luck to you and the entire conference that's starting today, of course, in Durban. And of course, I think so important to remember that the effects of this disease, not only in our own country, but on the African continent, in the world, and how it destroys families. And with that, we'd like to say thank you to all of the researchers, the nurses, the doctors who deal with the harsh realities of this disease on a daily basis. And also thank you to the AIDS conference for keeping us up to date on exactly what it is that is happening at the conference. And if you'd like to find out more about the 21st International AIDS Conference that starts off today until the 22nd of July in Durban, then do visit their website at www.aids2016.org.